Hopefully, everyone is doing good. Today's target is to understand banking transactions. What we will do over here, we will try to understand all journal entries which are associated with banking transaction. What we will do, we will try to allocate transaction with the bank, either if you are taking amount out of your bank account or you are depositing your amount in your bank account. So related entries would be generalized over here. Among these all entries, we will divide these entries into subparts, and first part we will discuss is about balance of bank account. And when you will write balance in bank account, you will say there is only one way somebody can have bank account. But now we will here discuss different criterias of bank account, where the first one we will discuss is if somebody does have cash in his bank account. Yeah, cash in bank account, this is your narration. So what does that mean? If you have a bank account and that bank account contains some sort of cash, either 100, 200, 500, whatever the amount is, if you have a bank account and that bank account contains some cash, it is called cash at bank. Yeah, cash in bank account. Or it may be possible you have some cash balance in your bank account. So what it is favorable for you when you have some cash in your bank account. It would be a favorable transaction, and we know in accounting whatever is favorable would be debited. So what you will do, you will debit your bank account over here, and since amount is neither going out nor any amount is coming in, so second transaction is nothing about going out or coming in. Since it is just a balance, so you will write a balance over here. This is your complete transaction. What have we done? If you have cash in your bank account, it means it is favorable. You will debit your bank account. Since cash is not going out or in, so what you will write? Just balance. In this way, you have completed your first transaction. Please give a little time, some seconds to understand it, and then we will follow the next one. All right, this is our first journal entry. When you have cash at bank, yeah, cash in bank account, better is to write at cash at bank. This is your first transaction. And let's say if you have bank balance, but that is overdraft. Overdraft balance at bank, this is your next entry. The important word in this narration is overdraft. Overdraft means loan. It is unfavorable thing. Then how you will explain this overdraft? Let's say you have your bank account and you have $1,000 present in your bank account, and you are needed to pay an amount more than 1,000. Suppose it is 1,200. You have 1,000 in your bank account, but you want to pay 1,200 rupees. Obviously, if you will draw a check of rupees 1,200, it would be bounced instantly. How? Because you have 1,000 in your bank account and you have written a check of rupees 1,200, yeah, dollar 1,200, so it is impossible to get cash from that check, as your amount is less than the amount you are asking from bank. But there is a second way. You can ask your bank manager and seek help from the bank manager, that if bank manager is ready to pay $1,200 for your check, which is actually for 1,000 rupees. If you have a good relationship with your bank manager and you are a good customer of your bank account, then bank can give you extra $200, but for a very short period of time. Since it's a matter of your prestige, since it's a matter of your goodwill, if you have written a check of rupees 1,200 while in your balance in your bank account only $1,000 are present, and you have given that check to your customer, if that check is dishonored by the bank, so it would go unfavorable for you. It would be against your goodwill. So to save that goodwill, you have requested to your bank manager to please encash that check of rupees 1200, and you have promised to pay that extra 200 within 1 or 2 days. So that means for a very shorter period of time. If bank manager agrees, it is called overdrafting. Overdraft means you have withdrawn an amount which was not present in your bank account. It is just like a loan, a short term loan, and short term loan means it is unfavorable for you, and whenever something is unfavorable, it is liability, and liability should be written on credit side. So here your bank account is being written on credit side. Bank account you are writing on credit side. Why? Because it is overdraft, shorter term period loan. Loan is liability, liability should be credit. You have written on credit side. But what you have done, you have debited bank account because it was favorable for you if some amount is present in your bank account. Why you have written credit side? Because it is unfavorable for you, because you have taken a loan for the shorter period of time. After that loan, when you will check your bank account and that bank account will show an overdraft, it means it is liability. Liability should be credit. Since amount is not going in or going out, you have just seen that your bank account is showing overdraft. So for the time being, you will write just balance, nothing else, nothing else. So this is your second entry, and I will request you to just see these entries, both of these entries, and make your mind. If you will have this narration cash at bank, you will make journal entry as bank to balance. When you will have bank balance overdraft, you will write balance to bank. And let's say if you have, just to differentiate between above two entries, I would like to explain another entry. If you have cash in hand, this is third type of balance. When somebody is saying you have cash but in hand, not in your bank account. So since you have cash, it is favorable. All favorable things are debit. All favorable things are debit at one stage. And secondly, try to understand, if you have cash in your hand, it is your asset, and assets are also debited. What you will do, you will write cash on debit side because it is your asset, and asset are to be written on debit side. Since it is just cash in hand, you are not paying cash, that means cash is not going out and cash is not coming in, it is just a balance. So on credit side, you will write balance. So this way your next entry has been completed. Three entries you have seen which is related to your balance at bank. First was cash at bank, where you have debited your bank account. Secondly, overdraft balance. What does that mean? You have taken a short term loan. Overdraft means short term loan, it is liability, that is why your bank account is credit. When you have cash in hand, it means you have cash and cash is not going out, cash is not moving in, it is just a balance. So you have written cash on debit side and shown it just like a balance. This is our first part we have completed, and now we will move to our second part, where we will see the entries related to if checks are issued. If checks are issued, now you will concentrate upon these entries. This is our second portion. First portion was related to balance at bank, and now second portion is related to checks are issued. First possibility is you have issued a check to whom you will issue check. Obviously, when you will buy some commodity, for example, and you haven't paid that amount to your creditor, and after that, instead of paying cash, you are ready to draw a check, and you have issued that check to your customer, to your creditor. What narration you will face? Issued check issued to your account payable, you can write, or you can write your creditor over here. This is your first narration. Check issued to creditor. What will happen? There is a person who is creditor to whom amount was payable. Instead of paying cash, you have issued a check to him. What he will do, he will take your check and will go to your bank and will withdraw amount from your bank account. In this way, your amount in your bank account will decrease. It means your bank account has been decreased, which is unfavorable for you. Whenever bank account will increase, it would be debited. If your amount in bank account has been decreased, it would be credited. That is why you will write bank account on credit side. So you have issued your check to your creditor. Creditor is a person who is your liability. You were liable to pay the amount to your creditor. It was your liability. Since now you have paid the check is almost a cash amount. When you have paid your check, it means your liability has been decreased. Your liability was your creditor, and since you have paid the amount, your liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be debited. That is why you will write your creditor name over here, or you can write your account payable over here. So stop at this stage and see what we have done. Narration was check issued to your creditor. You have issued a check to your creditor. When you have issued that check, it means you have completed your liability has been decreased. It was your responsibility, it was your liability to pay the amount instead of amount. When you have issued that check, your liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be debited. That is why you have written creditor on debit side. And since your creditor will withdraw amount from your bank account, this way amount present in your bank account will be decreased. Bank account is your asset will be decreased, and hence your bank account would be credited. This is our first entry related to check issued. Now let's say amount present in your bank account is 1000 and you have written that check for 1000. That amount will be withdrawn by your creditor, no issue. But let's say when you have given the check to your creditor, and creditor was supposed to withdraw amount from your bank account, but instead of going to the bank, he forgot. Let's say he had forgot, he haven't gone to your bank account. This can be reason. And let's say if you have issued the check to your creditor, that creditor and you have written a date upon that check, and creditor was not able to go to the bank account on particular date, so date has been passed. Or suppose he kept that check in his pocket, and due to any reason that check has been damaged, or the amount has been damaged over there, or check has been torn into two parts. Due to any reason, the check original face has been deteriorated. Now when creditor will go to your bank account, due to any issue, he will not be able to get that amount, and that check will be dishonored. There might be several reasons, but what is happening, check which was issued to creditor now dishonored. This is our narration. Check which was issued to the creditor now dishonored. Here try to understand, when you have issued your check to creditor, you had supposed that your creditor will go to your bank account, will withdraw amount from your bank. But what had happened, he kept that check in his pocket, and that check was physically damaged. And if creditor will show this check or will present this check to the bank will refuse to pay amount from the damaged check. That check has been torn into two pieces. Or let's say in case you have $1000 in your bank account, but check has written for 1100, that check will be dishonored or bounced back. If in case creditor had gone to the bank and amount has been withdrawn, due to that we have credited to the bank account. And let's say if check has been dishonored, it means your bank account will not be credited, amount will not be withdrawn from the bank. And what you will do, you will debit your bank account again. What you have done, at the time of issuing the check, you have supposed that creditor will definitely go to your bank account and will withdraw amount from the bank. But what had happened, due to any reason that check has been dishonored, it means the creditor had not gone to the bank, or to damaged physical shape of the check, creditor is unable to withdraw amount from your bank account. It means initially you suppose your amount could be withdrawn from the bank account, but now you have realized that amount has not been drawn from the bank. That is why you have debited your bank account. And since amount has not been paid to the creditor is still your liability, and you will credit your creditor because your liability has been increased in case of dishonor. These are two entries related to checks issued. And now we will proceed to the next entry. Okay, now we will see the third portion. Here we have issued our checks, and now we will see if checks you have received. So understand from whom you will receive your checks. Checks are received. This is your next heading. First narration you will see over here is what? You have received a check received from whom you will receive your check? The person from whom amount is receivable. The person is called debtor. So you have received check from debtor, or you can say account receivable. You have received a check from your account receivable or debtor. Now here you will understand, if you have just received check from debtor and you have not deposited that check into your bank account, it means amount present in your bank account will not increase. Until then you will consider and suppose it as your cash. Kindly understand it. If you have received your check and you have not deposited that check into your bank, it means bank has no relation with this entry. Neither amount is going into the bank, or nor amount you are withdrawing from the bank. That is why you will not mention bank account over here. What you have done, you have received a check and you will shape it, or you will consider it as cash. From whom you have received your amount? The person is called debtor. Debtor was your asset because amount was receivable. Since now you have received the amount, your asset has been decreased. Decrease in asset should be credited. So you will write the name of your debtor on credit side, or you will write account receivable, or you will write the name over here. So this is your first entry. When you will receive your check from debtor, what you will do, you will write cash to debtor. Alright, first entry you have seen check received from debtor. And now what you will do, If you will receive check from debtor, obviously you will not keep that check at home or house for longer period of time. Next day or next time or same day, you will deposit that check. Deposited check of debtor in bank. Deposited that check into the bank. Here you had considered that check as cash. When you will take that check to your bank account, it means check is going out and you have considered that check as cash. So you will write cash over here. Cash account would be credited. And what you have done, you have taken that check into your bank account. Your bank account has been increased. What you will do, you will debit your bank account. In this way, what had happened, here you have received that check, cash to debtor, journal entry, and then you have deposited that check into your bank account. Bank is debit and cash is credit. In the next stage, we will see if you have deposited your check in your bank account, and after depositing that check, bank manager will seek amount from your debtor, but due to any reason, due to insufficient fund, due to wrong signatures, due to wrong amount put into the check, or date was mistakenly written into the check, due to any reason, that check has been dishonored. So narration you will see is check of debtor now dishonored. Check of debtor now dishonored. So what you will do, at first stage you have received check from your debtor, you have deposited that check into your bank account, but now the check has been dishonored. Where you will go, you will again go to your debtor and will inform him that check has been dishonored. So it means debtor uh, is the person from whom amount is still receivable. Still amount you will be willing to receive from your debtor. Debtor had become your asset again. Asset should be debited, that is why you will write the name of debtor on debit side. And what had happened, you have deposited that check into your bank account, but that check was fake, date was not accurate, the shape of that check was damaged. Due to any reason, amount has not been deposited in your bank account. It means what you have done, you have debited your bank account after depositing that check, has proved to be wrong, and it means your bank account has not been decreased. You will have to cancel this effect, and that is why you will write this bank account again on credit side to cancel the effect which you have already written on second entry. So third narration was check of debtor now dishonored. First stage, you have received your check. Secondly, you have deposited that check into your bank account, and now that check has been dishonored. This is our second stage completed, and we will proceed further. Okay, now we have completed four stages entries related to balance at bank, then checks are issued, and then checks are received, and we have seen their dishonor entry. Next stage, we will see if you have received check and you have deposited same check on same date. This is our next heading, which you will see checks are received and deposited on the same date. Received we have not written, I will write over here received and deposited on same date. Alright, what narration you will see over here, he will say to you that check received from debtor, you will receive check received from your debtor and deposited in bank on same day. This could be your narration. You have received your check from your debtor and the amount of or the check has been immediately deposited in the bank. This is your narration. So now conclude it. You have received your check from your debtor and you haven't kept that check at your home or in your pocket, you have immediately deposited that check into your bank account. So where that check had gone into your bank account, it means your bank account has been increased. Increase in bank account means increase in asset should be debited. That is why your bank account would be debited over here. And from whom you have received that check? Your debtor. The person from whom you have received your check was your asset. When you have received amount in shape of check from your debtor, he is no more your asset has been decreased. Decrease in asset should be debited. That is why you will write the name of your debtor, or you will write account receivable, or you will write the name of the person from whom you have received your check. Now, have you seen the difference? Check received and deposited the check into the bank on same date. So this is your first entry. Please make sure that your understanding has been developed. Now what you have done, you have received a check and immediately deposited into your bank account, which means your bank account has been increased. Your bank account is an asset. Increase in asset should be debited. That is why you will debit bank account. And secondly, why you have credited your debtor was, what I have said, debtor was your asset because amount was receivable. Since you have received amount from your debtor, he is no more your asset has been decreased. Decrease in asset should be credited. That is why you have written debtor's name on credit side. And next, the check which you have received from your debtor, now dishonored. Check which you have received from your debtor has been dishonored due to reasons, any reason. Since we are not concerned with the reason, we just want to understand the entry. Check received from debtor, now dishonored. What had happened? You have received your check from debtor was your asset, and since you have received that check from the debtor, asset has been decreased. At the stage when your bank account will show the reason why he is dishonoring that check, you will again go to your debtor and will inform him that check has been dishonored. You will demand to pay again. Debtor will become account receivable again. It means debtor had become your asset again. Asset should be debited. So you will write the name of debtor on debit side again. And since at first stage you said that you have deposited your check in your bank account, it means your bank account as an asset has been increased, but the check was fake, date was wrong, check physical shape was wrong, amount was not written accurate, signature was wrong, whatever the reason is. If check has been dishonored, it means your bank account has not been increased. You will cancel this effect. To cancel this effect, you will credit your bank account. In this way, dishonoring entry has been complete, and our next stage has also been completed. This way, we have only two entries for check received and deposited on the same date. We will proceed now the next stage. Alright, here you have completed your four stages: first, second, third, and fourth. And fifth stage we will write over here. And what is that? That would be associated with check received and endorsed to third party or the creditor. Please understand it at first stage. What we are going to do, we have received a check, but that check has not been kept with us, and you have transferred that check to the third party. Check received and endorsed. Endorsed spelling should be written correctly. So we have written check received and endorsed to third party. What does that mean? You have received a check from your debtor, and let's say you were at that stage liable to pay the amount to the third party. So instead of payment, what you have done, you have transferred the possession of that check which you have received from your debtor to the third party to whom you were liable to pay the amount. So there are three parties over here. First is debtor. Debtor was the person, I should write over here. First party is debtor. He was the person from whom amount was receivable. And then were the person who will receive amount from debtor. Instead of amount, debtor had given you a check. So you have received a check from your debtor. Next stage, you have transferred that check to your creditor. This is your next stage. You have transferred the possession of that check to the creditor, and we will now perform journal entries of these stages. I'm clearing it. At first stage, what you have done, you have received a check from debtor. What entry you will perform? Think about it. You have received a check from your debtor. As you have received and you have not deposited that check in your bank account, so there is no concern of bank account even if it is check. At this stage, you have only received check from your debtor. So instead of bank account, for the time being, you will consider it as your cash. Actually, it's not a cash. What had happened, you have just received your check from debtor, and that check at this stage has not been deposited in your bank account, so there will not be any concern of bank. You have written cash. Secondly, from whom you have received this check? From your debtor. Debtor was your asset, and since now you have received check, and that is almost your amount. Debtor was the person from whom amount was receivable, and now amount has already been received. He is no more your debtor, and he is no more your asset. Assets has been decreased. Decrease in asset should be credited. That is why you have written name of debtor on credit side. You have written name of your debtor on credit side. This is your first entry. You have received a check from your debtor, and since that check has not been deposited in the bank account, so for the time being you have written it as your cash. All right, next stage, check of debtor. Check of debtor is endorsed to creditor. Understand first what this entry is about. You have received a check from your debtor as at this stage. So you were supposed to go to your debtor's bank account. You were supposed to present that check to the bank, and you were supposed to withdraw amount from debtor's bank. It was original story, but instead of going to debtor's bank account, you were liable to pay amount to your creditor. Creditor had arrived to your door and he was asking the amount, and you were not having sufficient amount in your pocket. So instead of paying your creditor amount, instead of that amount, you have transferred the check which you have received from your debtor. You have transferred this check to your creditor. In this way, you have decreased your liability. So what is happening when you have received that check? You have considered that check as your cash. That is why you had debited your cash account on debit side. Since you are transferring the possession of that check to your creditor, it means cash is going out. That check is going out, and I will just mention that it's not actually the cash. It is your check. So check is going out, not to the bank. Rather, you have transferred the possession of that check to your creditor. And since you have paid to the creditor in shape of check, creditor was your liability. You have paid or transferred the possession of check to the creditor. Your liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be debited. That is why you will write name of creditor on debit side. See, you can stop over here. You can see these entries and can create your mind, and then come back to the video to see the next procedure. This was your first stage. What you have done, you have received the check from your debtor, and same check you have transferred to your creditor at second stage. Now what third stage is? Check of debtor which you have received at initial stage and transferred to creditor second stage, now dishonored. This is very beautiful and very elegant entry to understand check of debtor which was received by you from debtor. Then you have transferred that check to the creditor and ultimately that check has been dishonored. Stage is what? First you have received check from debtor. Again, and try to understand. You have received that check from debtor. That check has been transferred to your creditor. Creditor had gone to the bank account. Have you understood? You have received your check from debtor and you haven't gone to the bank account. You transferred the possession of that check to the creditor. Creditor had gone to the bank account, bank of debtor, so that he can receive the amount, but bank had refused to pay the amount from that check due to any reason. Suppose signature of debtor was wrong, amount written was wrong, shape of that check was torn and it was not in the right shape due to any reason, or it may be due to insufficient fund. Check of debtor has been dishonored which was presented by the creditor. Now what will happen? Where creditor will go? There are three parties. First party was debtor and you were the second party. You have received check from debtor. You have transferred that possession to the creditor and creditor had gone to the bank account. This way there are four persons who are involved, basically three parties and bank. When bank had refused to pay the amount to the creditor, creditor will come back to you and will inform that the check of debtor which was transferred to the creditor has been dishonored. It means the payment initially in shape of check which was gone to the creditor actually had not been paid. So creditor is still your liability. Liability would always be written on credit side and you will write the name of creditor again on credit side because still creditor is your liability. Now where you will go? When check has been dishonored, creditor had come to you and had given that check to you, and where you will go? You will go to your debtor and will inform your debtor that check has been dishonored and you will demand to pay again. So debtor was cancelled and written on credit side because you thought that he had paid, but actually after dishonoring the check, debtor is a person from whom amount is still receivable, and since amount is still receivable, he is still your asset should be written on debit side. That is why you will write the name of debtor on debit side. Whatever the name is, you may write account receivable or you may write the name of your account receivable, and in the similar way you may write creditor over here, or you can write account payable, or you may write the name of that creditor. So check of debtor which was received and transferred to creditor, now dishonor, you will generalize in this way. In this way we have completed our this stage and we will proceed to the next stage. So you have seen first stage, second stage, third stage, fourth and fifth stage we have completed. Okay, we will now proceed to next. Any expenses paid by check, we will see what will happen. Expenses paid by check. This could be the narration or this could be the main theme when you have paid your expense through check. Narration you will get would be, let's say, rent paid by check. Rent is your expense at first stage. All expenses should be debited. So you will write rent on debit side, and at next stage, since you have paid rent by check, what will happen? You are tenant and you were supposed to pay rent in cash, but instead of cash you have issued a check to your landlord, where your landlord will go to your bank and will present your check to your bank and will withdraw amount from your bank account. In this way, your bank account, which is your asset, when amount would be withdrawn from your bank account, your asset would be decreased. That means your bank account would be decreased. Decrease in asset should be credited. That is why you will write your bank account name on credit side. So entry would be when you paid rent by check, the entry would be rent to bank. Okay, this portion has been completed. When any expense has been paid through check, what you will do, you will write expense name to bank. I have given you an example of rent, and if let's say you have paid salaries, you will write the name of salaries. So expense name would be put over here. Example is rent. If you will see in your question, salaries paid, you will write salaries to bank. If taxes paid by check, taxes to bank. If insurance paid by check, so insurance to bank. And we will see now the next stage. If any income you have received, if any income you have received through your bank account, income is collected by bank. Suppose, so this is your heading, if income is collected by bank. Let's say you were supposed to receive, let's take an example. Instead of income, I'm writing, let's say you are now the landlord and you have received rent is collected by your bank. Suppose you have a house and you have given that house on rent. So it was, in normal case, you were supposed to go to your house which you have given on rent, and you could have asked to your tenant to pay the amount, and directly you were supposed to receive the cash. Instead of direct receiving cash from your tenant, you have arranged with your bank that bank will go to your tenant and receive amount from your tenant. So what had happened, example is rent is collected by bank. You have ordered your bank to collect your incomes. So now we will generalize it. What will happen when your bank will collect amount from your tenant? Bank will deposit that amount in your bank account, with which what will happen, your bank account will increase. Bank is an asset. When amount has been deposited in bank account, your bank account will increase. Ultimately your asset will increase. Due to increase in your asset, as due to increase in asset, bank account is debited over here. Secondly, why your bank account is increasing? Your bank has received rent and amount of that rent has been deposited in your bank account. Due to rent, your bank account has been debited. What is rent? Since you have received that amount, or you are receiving the rent, it is your income. The place where you will write the income is credit side. Income is always written on the credit side, so you will put rent on credit side. So here you have your entry. When rent is collected by the bank, your bank account will increase. Rent is your income and income is always credited. That is why you have written rent on credit side. So here we have completed our next two stages. Any expense which is paid through bank or check, or any income which is collected by the bank, these are two next stages which we have completed. Okay, now please pay attention. First portion was associated with balance of bank. If you have cash at bank, your bank would be debited. If you have taken loan as an overdraft, your bank account is credit. If you have cash in hand, not in your bank account, you will debit cash. And then you have seen check issued. If you have issued a check to your creditor will withdraw amount from your bank account, your bank account would decrease. That is why you have written bank account on credit side. When it has been dishonored due to any reason, your bank account will not decrease, so you will cancel the effect. That is why your bank account has been debited. Next, we have seen if you have received your check and you haven't deposited that check into your bank account, until then you will debit cash. And why you have credited your debtor account? Debtor was on your asset. After receiving check, your asset has been decreased, so you have credited debtor's name. When this check which you have received from your debtor you have deposited into your bank account, next day or next date your bank account will increase. That is why you have written bank account on debit side. After dishonoring, what will happen? You will again go to your debtor and will inform that check of debtor has been dishonored. You will again demand from debtor to pay the amount. So in this way debtor will become account receivable again. Account receivable means your asset has been increased. Increase in asset should be debited. That is why you will debit debtor. And since you have deposited that check in your bank account, bank was increased, but due to fake check or dishonoring, that bank account has not been increased. To cancel the effect of this dishonoring, you will credit your bank account. Then next, you have seen check received and deposited on same date. Means okay, as you have received check from debtor, you immediately deposited that check into your bank account. Bank account was your an asset, and due to depositing of check, your bank account has been increased. That is why you will debit your bank account. Debtor was the person from whom amount was receivable. Since you have received the amount, your asset has been decreased. That is why you will credit your debtor. If check of debtor dishonored, then you will again go and inform your debtor. Debtor would become your account receivable again, which is your asset. Asset would increase. You will debit the name of debtor. When you have received that check, you had deposited bank account. Since the check was fake, signature was wrong, check physical position was wrong, it means your bank account would not increase. And to cancel the effect of this entry, you will credit or you will write on opposite side, so bank was credited. In this way above stages has been completed, and then you have gone check received and endorsed to third party. First you have received the check and check was not deposited. That is why you have not mentioned the name of bank, you have considered as cash account. Same check was endorsed to your creditor. It means the check when you have received, you have written cash account on debit side, check has gone, so you will write cash on credit side. Where that check had gone to your creditor was your liability. Since you have paid him a check, your liability has been decreased. Decrease in liability should be debited. That is why you have written name of creditor on debit side. And at first stage you have received, then you have endorsed to whom? Your creditor will go to your bank account, and due to any reason amount was wrong, check shape was wrong, signatures were wrong, check physical shape was damaged. Due to any reason that check has been dishonored, so the creditor will return back to you and will inform you. It means the amount has still be payable to your creditor. It becomes your liability. Liability should be creditor, so liability should be credited. That is why you have written creditor's name on credit side. And at next stage you will go to your debtor, will inform that your check has been dishonored, so amount is still receivable from your debtor, which is your asset. Asset has again increased. Increase in asset should be debited. That is why name of debtor has been debited. Second last stage, we when any expense is paid by check, it means amount present in your bank account would be decreased. Expenses should be written on debit side. Whatever the expense name is, you will write on debit side. Means rent paid, the rent to bank, salaries paid, salaries to bank, insurance paid, insurance to bank. If any income is collected by the bank, your bank account would increase. Amount present in your bank account if increases, your bank account will increase. Bank is your asset, bank account is your asset. Asset will increase, and increase in asset should be debited. That is why you had written name of bank account on debit side. Since it is your income and income is always been credited, that is why you have written the name of income on credit side. And here you can write any name of income, like you have received interest, or you have received any sort of income, you will write name over here. So here are all stages have been completed. At this stage, please read again, memorize all the entries, and it would become very comfortable for you to journalize any entry related to your bank account. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully everyone have understood. If you have any query, you can message, you can text, or directly contact me. And until next question or next understanding, please take care of yourself. We will meet again. Thank you very much. Bye.